My name is Gianna, or Gigi Gioscia. Today I'll be telling you guys about an intervention that I created in order to kind of foster this space where secondary students can see themselves in physics. So to give a little bit of background on me, I'm an aspiring high school physics teacher. I will be getting my degree in physics education in May, and I have also spent time as a physics major before I knew that I wanted to go into education. And so as someone who's kind of lived the physics student life and the physics teacher life, I have experienced a lot of what we call the gender gap in physics. And so this is probably a concept that many of us have heard, where physics has historically been and still is a heavily male-dominated field in both participation and recognition. And so what's interesting is that this gap not only shows up in the field of physics, within physicists, et cetera, that community, but it also shows up as early as high school, which is in a lot of countries where students are first exposed to physics ideas. And so I have a little graphic on the slide up here, and that is from a study from 2009, which said that in the United States, about 47% of physics students were girls. That's the language that they used. However, for an advanced course called AP Physics C, which is an advanced college level calculus-based physics course, students only made up 1/3 who were girls of the entire population. So that kind of shows already how the gender gap persists in high school. And so before I move on with the presentation, I just want to quickly say that from now on I will be straying from using terms like girls in order to use more inclusive language. So I'll be using the terms cisgender male and non-cisgender male, where cisgender male, or CM as I will say, is someone who is born male and identifies as such. And then a non-cisgender male is everyone else, such as those born female and identify with that, or non-binary individuals and everyone else. And so, as I said, I've experienced this gender gap as a teacher. And so all education majors who want a teaching license, which is the path I'm taking, they end up actually teaching in a high school before graduation. So this year I've been lucky enough to be in a Boston area high school teaching both Physics 1 or introductory physics courses to 10th through 12th grade students, in addition to an advanced placement calculus-based electricity and magnetism course. And so what I have seen is very different ratios between the cisgender male population and the non-cisgender male population. And so it's about 1-to-1, NCM to CM, or CM to NCM, in the Physics 1 courses. However, in our more advanced course, the AP course, it's very different. It's about 4-to-1 CMs for every NCM. So once again, that's a really big difference, and those ratios are something that were also seen in other physics courses at the school as well. And so this is a huge problem because taking AP Physics can be seen as a gateway into the physical sciences and engineering courses, as well as, of course, physics, continuing with that subject. And so for my project, I was wondering if there was anything I could do about this, because this is a complex issue that has a lot of social factors at play, and I wanted to see if I could do anything about this problem at my school. So I decided to create an after-school club, aka an intervention, called the Pre-AP Physics Scholars at my school. I recruited 5 NCM high-performing students who are not graduating this May or June, who are currently taking Physics 1 in order to participate in this club. We went through a variety of after-school modules. I planned for us to do 8, and we actually only got to 4, unfortunately, due to scheduling issues. High schoolers are busy, it turns out. And so what we got through was an introductory module. We also got through a hands-on activity whereby we learned about electromagnetic induction. What that is not important for this conversation. But then we went through physics in the world. So everybody brought in a physics video from social media that was interesting to us, and we all shared them and talked about them. And then we also went through physics beyond Physics 1. And so that's where we did a lot of learning about physics in college, in the AP classes, and then also in our careers. And so throughout the intervention, I had students fill out these nicely designed online notebooks. And so the example I have here is that where students, after seeing each other's physics videos, they had to rank how interested they were in learning more about physics as a result of that. And so this was so that I could gain knowledge from what students were thinking and feeling throughout these modules. And so ultimately, this was mostly kind of a qualitative study. However, I wanted to include a little bit of quantitative data as well. So I surveyed students both before and after these 4 modules. I gave them a bunch of statements, like around the board. There were more of them, but these were kind of ones to give us an idea of what I asked, such as, I am genuinely interested in physics concepts. Students had to rank from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, their level of agreement with each of these statements. And so I found that on average, students' agreement level with these statements rose by 0.15 out of 10. And so this was really interesting to me that we would see on average that increase after only 4 modules, so about 4 hours with the students. Perhaps a larger takeaway or results that I saw were through the online notebooks I previously alluded to. And so this up here, I have projected an example of an online notebook that a student filled in, the same one as before. They saw everyone else's physics videos. They had to rank their level of interest in learning about physics. The student selected 10 out of 10, yes, with 3 exclamation points. And at the bottom, to explain it, they talked about how they really liked, just the general activity, but how another student's video really allowed them to get more interested in a concept in physics called the Higgs field, or the Higgs boson, the particle manifestation of that field. So once again, physics, we're not going to go into that, but it was really cool to me to see that this student, their interest was really ignited in these ideas that were brought up in their peers' videos. And I will say also that on this specific activity, the average that students indicated on this was an 8.25. So to me, that really showed that that module, but also generally being involved in this group, was really igniting their interest in physics. And so ultimately, I want to close with the fact that intervention is necessary, like doing something outside of the norm is necessary to help more NCM students see what physics is about and that they belong. Because ultimately, high school is a really important time that has great effects on someone's future. And so if we want to see more gender diversity in physics, this is what we're going to have to do. Thank you so much.
Any questions for our presenter?
Congrats to Gianna on an awesome project and presentation. I think one of the strengths here for me anyway is that you're sort of acknowledging that there are very complex and deep factors culturally and economically that would help contribute to this gender gap. But you've chosen a very practical intervention, like after-school program. I wonder if there are other types of interventions you've thought about. I just think of, I'm trying to remember how I chose my AP courses, and I don't actually remember the process, but we know it's probably a mix of what are my parents telling me to take, what are my friends taking, what are my teachers encouraging me to do. So could you imagine, in addition to after-school programs, other kinds of, let's say practical interventions, not talking about sort of changing the culture nationally or something, but within a school, what kinds of things could be helpful?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. So I think I'm going to choose to answer this in the realm of the school that I've been working with. So a big reason that's been told to me just by staff in the school of why so many students don't take AP physics that are NCMs is because, so at my specific school, students are required to take biology in the 9th grade, and then they have flexibility after that. So they are not required to take physics. Physics can be a part of their journey, and if they want to make physics part of their journey, they can take it in either 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. And so what happens is that a lot of, especially NCM students, will get very interested in biology, which they take in 9th grade. And then if they want to take advanced placement biology, they have to take chemistry, their sophomore year. And then they typically take biology again, AP biology, they're in their 11th grade. And then, so we actually get a lot of seniors who are NCMs who are in physics finally, and then they figure out that they like it. So at least at my school, maybe another intervention is really going to the NCM students, at or around 9th grade and kind of being like, hey, there's this other subject called physics that's really cool, and, maybe trying to expose them to that, with also programming being like, hey, like, you belong here, it's a cool subject, and kind of showing them what it's about. So at least, that's kind of specific to my school once again, but it's really about seeing the situation at any particular school and adapting to that.
Great.
Hi, echoing what a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Way to bring it on home. I guess two things. One, so although it was many, many years ago, I remember my journey being same thing that you said around biology, chemistry, and then physics, and I was dreading physics, and when I finally got there, I was like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. And so I really agree with trying to reach messaging sooner. My question, though, is what is it that's inspired you to choose to teach high school physics? And I will say that it was inspiring for me to hear that you're choosing that, but I just wondered if you could share the why behind it.
Yeah, of course. So in getting to my journey of where I wanted to do physics was a whole thing. Like, I started out in chemistry and slowly figured out that I loved physics. And then originally when I got to physics, I was thinking, oh, people who do physics get PhDs, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do research because that sounds really interesting. And I did a little bit of research, and it was kind of okay. I was like, okay, that was fine. I don't know. I was kind of just not really interacting with a lot of people, and it just didn't really fill my soul. And then actually being a teacher is the very first thing that I wanted to do when I was a little kid. And so I feel like I've just always kind of had it in the back of my mind. And then, I don't know, I guess during my late in my sophomore year, I was suddenly like, what if I had my own classroom and was able to teach other people about the subject that I think is really cool and has a bad reputation of course. A lot of people are like, you like physics? What? And so I just thought that it would be something cool to try, and then after actually getting to be in the classroom with students, I've realized that I really love doing it, and it's very stressful right now as a new teacher because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, I'm really passionate about working with kids and getting them to also see that physics is cool.
Thank you. That's so awesome. One, at some point in time, you could write a book about your journey, too, that would inspire others beyond your classroom. So just
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
Just first up, speaking as an old teacher, it's also terrifying. But I'm not sure you ever know if you feel like you know what you're doing. But I was going to ask, do you have a plan for distribution of your materials? So that some aspiring teacher can co-opt your materials and turn them into something else, and maybe even encourage a community around those materials, so that hopefully there's other people who feel like you do about inspiring NCMs, which I'm still cracking up over your acronym, but around that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually the main final deliverable of my project is going to be a whole write-up of my process, like the research that went into my modules, what I actually did, how the students reacted, and the results. Because actually I'm lucky enough that at my school, the head of the science department wants to continue this after I leave. There's no physics openings at this school, so I'm not going to be teaching there next year. However, this has been really exciting to me, and I want to be able to give the school that I'm at kind of a formal document with everything that I learned that went into this program, and I can definitely envision adapting that to be more general as well so that it can be used by other schools. That's a great question.
So just FYI, there's an organization on campus called Spark that likes to build software for people,
Cool.
especially when they're around kind of social justice. So, and it's free. So if you wanted to
Awesome.
come and talk to us, that would be cool.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, let's give Gianna a round of applause.